Hey there friends, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I am of course Paul Glasgow, the world's only and most dedicated truth pimp, bringing you a vulgar display of logic and reason every single day. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you don't mind, please like, share, subscribe to the video to help boost the algorithm to get these videos out there, because YouTube doesn't like them. So we got to do all we can to keep them visible to the general public out there who wants to consume this type of content from me. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to my friends over at Gideon Optics. Those guys have been beating the street over in Atlanta this weekend for the NRA annual meeting. I am not there because I hate Atlanta. Sorry, those of you that live in Atlanta. Sorry, not sorry. I can't stand Atlanta. The last time NRA was in Atlanta, the Atlanta mayor actually came out and voiced their disposition of gun owners. Weren't very happy that we were there. I said, last time I'm going there. In fact, the workers at restaurants, hotels, bars, they were all rude, unkind. You could tell they had that same feeling, why are y'all in our town? So I'm not going back, and I'm never going back. I've actually told the NRA, don't go back. I'm not going back. And I know they don't care about me. I'm not saying because I'm not going, they're not going to have it there. But I think if more people spoke out about a community that doesn't want us there to begin with, maybe that can move the needle a little bit. So again, hopefully you guys can help out a little bit. My friends over at Gideon have been busting it over there anyway in Atlanta this weekend, really getting the word out. If you want some good deals on Gideon products, go to their website, Gideon Optics. To me, has some of the best optics out there on the market right now at a price that's not going to break your bank. They're not the cheapest out there, but they're certainly not the cost of some of these out there. It's going to get you into a red dot, a nice optic, even some etched reticle optics that they have at a much more competitive price that you might find in some of the more popular brands out there. Gideon's blowing up though. My friends over at Gideon are doing a very good job. Again, go check them out, Gideon Optics. Use my code FTATF to receive immediate savings over there. Did you see the Alex Thompson, Alex is from Axios, his little diatribe at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last night, where he basically, kind of like whenever the boyfriend beats up the girlfriend and then apologized to her for beating her up, he kind of went on one of those little things. You guys know my goal is to always expose the media when they lie. And the lie, I mean, let's be real honest here. Media is usually lying. Media is notorious for taking a really small snippet of a story so that people will go watch it, because if it's a trending topic, people are going to look for it. But they put their own spin on it. It used to be that news journalists would take the news, they would take the actual facts, like this is what happened and this is what we see with our own eyes, and then they would simply pass that on to us. Now it's one big op-ed, one big opinion piece. Now, quick side note, that's what my channel is. I am not a news channel in any kind of way. I take what I see and I tell you guys what I think is really happening, or I give you my spin on it. I make no apologies for that. But I also don't call myself a news channel. These people do. They take what I do and they try to wrap it in the wrappings of a news article when it's clearly not. They are giving you how they want you to think and feel about a news topic instead of giving you the facts and letting you form that opinion on your own. This guy, Alex Thompson, got up there last night, and it's like he tried to be all noble and stuff by falling on his sword and acting like he was better than everybody else, because now he was finally calling out that the media had a little bit of responsibility when it came to Biden being mentally retarded. And I say that in the true clinical sense of the term. Biden was, and he progressively got even more mentally retarded. Mental retardation is not a slang term. That is a clinical definition of somebody like Joe Biden whose mentality has been retarded. Joe Biden was mentally retarded clearly for 4 years, but the last couple of years, I'm talking clinically retarded to the point where if he lived in the general public like we do, they wouldn't have let him drive a car. They wouldn't have let him heat something in the microwave by himself. Do you understand that? You realize the leader of the free world would not be trusted to stay home by himself if he lived like us little old peasants do. Here's what Mr. Alex Thompson had to say, and then I have some other things I want to add to that.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him is a reminder that every White House regardless of party, is capable of deception. But being truth tellers also means telling the truth about ourselves. We, myself included, missed a lot of this story, and some people trust us less because of it. We bear some responsibility for faith in the media being at such lows. I say this because acknowledging errors builds trust, and being defensive about them further erodes it. We should have done better.
We bear some responsibility. I would challenge that. You bear probably most of the responsibility. I'm not going to take the responsibility away from Congress, who equally has a horrible approval rating like the media does. More on those approval ratings here in a second. Because Congress and members of the Democrat Party, not just members of Congress, but aides, confidants, and folks like that work with Biden, we're constantly feeding the media also these lies. So the media wanted to believe that Biden was cognizantly okay. So they basically waited with bated breath on these aides and these other folks, congressmen, senators, to tell them, yeah, he's okay. So they could go, oh, well, good. I mean, it's been validated. I mean, he's okay. I mean, this senator said that Biden was okay, that he was sharp. So he must be. They all knew they were lying when they reported that Biden was cognitively okay, even though he wouldn't take exams, or at least make those exams public. They wouldn't acknowledge that he was crapping in his diaper all the time, that he was passing out, that he was doing silly stuff that most 80-year-old mentally retarded people would do. They hid it. They covered it up. And here he's trying to say they bear some responsibility. Again, trying to be all noble and fall on his sword like, I'm going to take one for the team because we had a little bit to blame. No, you had a lot. Now, Hugh Hewitt, if you don't know who Hugh Hewitt is, he does some really cool stuff on his podcast. He's a good conservative guy out there. I have a little bit of trust in Hugh. He put together a montage basically of all these aides and confidants within the Biden administration, Democrat Party, speaking all these positive things about Biden, how he was good to go. Again, this is what the journalist leaned on to say, see, they told me that. That's not my opinion that Biden is sharp and cognitively okay. They told me that. Here's that montage of all those clips.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with him.
The most difficult part about a meeting with President Biden is preparing for it, because he is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
I can testify because I've been working very closely with this president for the past 2 years. I've been knowing him for 30 years. And I'm telling you, this guy's tough. He's smart. He's on his game.
Joe Biden has vision. He has knowledge. He has a strategic thinker.
The president is focused. He's detail-oriented. He's always thinking about the big picture.
He is engaging. He is capable. He has an incredible record as president.
And I'm often with him on foreign trips. He's at the top of his game.
So he has a vision. He has knowledge. He has judgment. He has a strategic thinking.
I met with the president, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he seemed fine to me.
I have complete confidence in the president. I have watched him expertly guide meetings of staff and cabinet members. I could not have more confidence in the president.
I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine.
But he is, again, knowledgeable, wise.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing, incredible command of the details.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
So you see, that's who the media, this guy Thompson, was trying to blame when he says they bared some responsibility. That's his way of saying, we'll take a little bit of the blame, but it was all these people, all these aides, all these confidants, all these Democrats telling us that he was okay. So, hey, who is it? Who are we to sit here and second guess all these high-profile politicians that there's no way they would lie to the general public, right? Here is a This is an interesting clip right here because this reminds me, when you watch it, see if you don't think the same thing. This is kind of like the kid who threw the baseball through the window. And as long as he got away with it, he wasn't saying anything. But as soon as he got busted, he started crying and saying he was sorry, right? It's kind of like the guy who cheats on his wife. As long as he ain't getting caught, he's not crying and he's not apologizing. He's not saying, I'm sorry. The moment he gets caught, now he's sorry. He's only sorry because he got caught. He's not sorry. He wasn't sorry the whole time he was cheating, but he got caught. Now he's sorry. Same thing here. The media now is making it sound like, oh man, we were lied to. And, we got to do a better job. Here is a little round table from December, this past December, after Trump had already been elected. And they were kind of wrapping up the end of the year thing. And what were some things that we got wrong? And one of the things was that they got the Biden thing wrong. Check this out.
Dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned. And, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years. And yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years.
So see, they say that for 4 years, not 2. I was kind of giving the benefit of the doubt, saying that he had a little bit of cognitive awareness in his first 2 years. But she's saying that his advisors and his handlers lied to the media for 4 years. So this is the media's way of saying, we're sorry, whenever they were part of it the whole time and gleefully passed on that incorrect information, knowing full well, we knew it. We don't have inside sources. And all we had to do was listen to a 20-second clip of Joe Biden to know he ain't right. But yet these people couldn't figure it out, and they got inside sources. They got people all over the place, and they still sat here and believed everybody else whenever they said, Biden's as sharp as everybody in the room. That must mean you have a bunch of mentally retarded people in the room if that guy is the sharpest one out there. Now, I want to share some things with you real quick to show you how media controls so many different things out there and how they have so much power. And for them to duck and dodge responsibility is really disgusting in this case, because I think they move the needle a little bit. We have to acknowledge, and I think most of us do, that there's a whole lot of stupid people in the United States. A lot. I don't think it's unfair to go out on a limb and say half the people in the United States are probably stupid, easily brainwashed, easily swayed. And I'm not saying they're from one party. I think they're mostly from one party, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they all come from the same party. I think that they're lazy, so they rely on a lying media to mislead them because they're too lazy to do any real investigative work on their own. Their idea of digging into the story is to Google it and pick the first thing that pops up. You don't think Google has control over who pops up at the top of that feed? You don't think they're picking what they want those lazy people to find? Of course they are. We all know that they are. You can go pull up other search engines that aren't Google, and you're going to see that those top things are not algorithmically put at the top. They're purposely put there because people want you to think like that. That's why it's there. That's why Google does that. Everyone knows that. This is not a secret. So I want to show you some of these approval ratings out there and how they tend to affect each other. First, I want to point out the very obvious that Biden received less negative media coverage than any president on record, while Trump received most. We knew that. This was not something new, so again, not a big deal. But check this out. This is a very interesting study. This right here takes general industries across the country, combines it with politicians and news media. Check these numbers out. Look at the first column right there. Great deal, quite a lot. That's an approval rating, right? Look down at the presidency. This is for Joe Biden. This is during his term. Presidency had 26% approval rating. Now we're talking about great deal or quite a lot. People thought 26%, right? That was a 24-point swing. It had fallen off quite a bit. But again, 26% presidential approval rating towards the end of Biden's term. Look down at the very bottom, these two that I boxed in, the two of them together, newspapers, television news. Look at that. 18% approval rating for newspapers, and only 12% approval rating for television news. These people might think they got away with lying about Biden, but they didn't get completely away with it. Because even though people knew that Joe Biden was mentally retarded with a great deal, quite a lot percentage approval rating of 26%, they thought even less of the newspapers and the television news who were lying about it and gave them an 18 to a 12% approval rating. To me, this is very eye-opening that the newspapers really, if you think about it and be honest about it, the newspaper and television news, the reason why they're 18 and 12% approval rating is because they probably contributed to the presidential approval rating being as high as 26. Because had they been honest, these numbers would be flip-flopped. If the news media would have been honest about what everybody saw and what everybody knew, which was Joe Biden was mentally retarded, the presidency approval rating would probably be much lower than 26, and people would have more confidence and faith in newspapers and television news. But because the newspapers and television news lied, and we all knew they were lying, the dummies out there believed them and gave Biden a 26% approval rating. But those of us who knew better, we spoke out. And that's why the newspaper television news have such horrible approval ratings right here at 18 and 12%. Now, this is another interesting one here. Figures are the average percentage of U.S. adults who have a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in these particular branches. It's 9 institutions, which includes banks, churches, organized religion, organized labor, public schools, military, police, medical system, criminal justice system, and big business. Okay, that's the green line that you're going to see. Then you have the 3 branches of government combined. I want you to look at the main one right here that I have boxed. 2 news institutions, television, news. 15% approval rating. 15% approval rating right here. That's combined, right? By the way, these are all Gallup poll charts. My last slide here shows Americans' ratings of news professionals, honesty, and ethics. This is the actual people, right? We already talked about the media in general and newspapers in general. This is trust in the actual people themselves. Again, not the organization, each individual person. So if you break this down by that person, do I trust that person, that person, and that person? That's what we're talking about here. Look at this. Television reporters, 13% approval rating. That is hideous. Now, journalists coming in at 19%, that means only 1 in 5 people think that a journalist, quote unquote, is newsworthy or trustworthy. And then newspaper reporters at 17%. I'm shocked the journalists have a 19% approval rating or even higher than newspaper reporters because, quite frankly, I've always thought that newspaper reporters had a little bit more credibility because in many cases, you got somebody who's not a high-profile person, not trying to make their way in the media, and they're just reporting stuff. It's whenever these people start calling themselves journalists and start getting on television that you start seeing a lack of trust. Obviously, in this case, television reporters with a 13% approval rating, that's just freaking hideous. That shows you what the American people think. Again, this is a Gallup poll. What the American people think of the individuals who are peddling lies on the state-run, state-paid-for news media. I just felt like this was important to spread all this, guys, because I'm tired of these people lying to us. I mean, we know they're lying to us, but I feel like we have to get this information out there. I feel like they can't get away with what the Axios journalist got away with last night and act like he's being all noble. Look what I did. I took one for the team, guys. I said that we are partially responsible for the incorrect reporting of Joe Biden. No, y'all's job is to investigate and then report. You did no investigating. If you did investigate, then you didn't report accurately. Means you lied. You lied to the American people. That's why nobody trusts you. You can't tell us you're sorry now. You already cheated on the wife. You can't tell us you're sorry now. Do better. Don't cheat anymore. But we know that's not going to change. This was something to try to clean the slate because it was so obvious they could not escape it and get away from it. This was their way of trying to get you to forget about it. Oh, I apologize for that already, right? Why you got to bring up that again? I apologize. Let's move on to the next thing. Just like the guy cheating on his wife. Guys, have a great weekend. Once again, thanks for always watching Legally Armed America. I appreciate you guys doing that. You guys are very loyal followers. Always comment in the comment section down below. Remember, if you have anything you want to pass on to me, don't hesitate to email me at paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, paul@legallyarmedamerica.com. Again, comment section is usually on fire down below, so jump in it and have a good time. I try to be pretty responsive in the comment section within the first 2 to 3 days of a video being out. So if you go in there next couple of days, you're probably going to catch me in there, and I'll hopefully respond and, you know, coordinate a little bit with you guys, because again, it shows my appreciation for you all taking the time to watch the videos. Thanks again, guys.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. It's over.